So one of the guys that I mentor, he had something really neat happen yesterday. And I might have mentioned him in previous videos, but this is a young guy. This young guy has his real estate license. He is ready to make things happen, right? And he's all over the place. Or at least he was until he started working with me. The thing that was happening was, so I actually met this guy through jiu-jitsu, and we used to go to the same class, and he's a really ambitious dude. And one of the things that happened was his dad, who's also entrepreneurial, gave him all these different suggestions on what to do. And of course, being a young kid, he completely ignored what his dad was saying. And his dad told him to reach out to me. That was the only thing that he did not ignore, which was really cool. So he reaches out to me on Instagram, sends me a direct message and says, "Hey, I just got my real estate license. I also got hired by this air conditioning company, and I just wanted to see if you can give me some tips on what to do," and so on. So I told him, I do mentorship. It's not free mentorship. It comes at a cost. But I said, if you're ready, if you're totally willing to do what I tell you to do, because you only get one shot, I'll happily help you. So he started thinking about it, and he didn't say yes right away. What he ended up doing was he ended up trying to sell me on air conditioning, which was cool, but it was one of those, dude, I'm just going to ignore you. So I ignored him. I ignored him for, I think, like 2 weeks, something like that. And the reason I ignored him was because he was wanting to sell houses, wanting to wholesale houses, wanting to do air conditioning, and then obviously tried to sell me on air conditioning. Come on. That's not how you obviously start making money. What's happening is he's bouncing around, bouncing. And one of my mentors back in the day taught me the concept of bolt on, don't bounce. Bolt on, don't bounce means bolt on to what is already successful. You want to add, if something that's already that's working, if you want to do something else, it needs to be something that can easily be added to it. Kind of like a new cog in a wheel, right? Well, he finally stopped what he was doing and said, "Can you help me? I'm willing to do whatever it is that you need me to do." I said, "Okay, cool." So I started asking him about the different things that he was doing. How many houses did you sell? How many ACs did you sell? And he said that he sold one air conditioning contract, which ended up being a $700 profit for him, which most people, you might be like, "Oh, only $700. What are you doing?" Most people don't even make one sale. Most people are freaking armchair quarterbacks, keyboard warriors, and don't do crap. Okay? So the fact that he sold $700 is huge. It's probably infinitely more than what you're doing. I know at one point in time for me, it was infinitely more than what I was doing. 0 to 700 or 0 to 1 is literally the hardest thing to do when it comes to business. Okay. So that said, I asked him about that. I said, "How many people did you reach out to and how many people did you sell?" And it ended up being where he spent like 10 minutes posting on some website, and it ended up having 3 people respond, and he sold one of them. And I told him, "Dude, you don't realize that is a freaking good conversion rate. Holy crap. That is a really good conversion rate. And the time that you spent on it and the money you spent on it, You spent like $0, like literally $0 to get those clients. And so I redirected him. I said, you need to stick with this. You need to stick with something until you see it stick. Okay? There's a great book out there by an author called Seth Godin. He's been writing for a long time. I have a ton of his books. I have Poke the Box. I have, what is it, Purple Cow, and all these other great books. But one of the little books he has is called The Dip. And whenever you're starting anything, you are going to go through this dip where you're getting super excited. You're going to make this happen. Just let this drive by itself. You're going to make this happen. And then all of a sudden you realize, this is not working out the way I thought it was going to. This is actually harder than I expected, right? Well, yeah, no duh. Anytime you are going to do something that is worth doing, it's going to be difficult, usually. And so he was feeling that dip, right? He was feeling that whole, I was expecting to make thousands of dollars right away. Little did he know that the conversion rate that he has is something that can turn into thousands, tens of thousands, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars in sales commissions per year. Okay. So maybe even tens of thousands of dollars per month. All right. Well, I once again just focused him and I said, dude, do not do anything else other than this. And they started trying to do this. They're back to the real estate and stuff. And I said, dude, I'm going to stop mentoring you if you don't focus. So just yesterday, he sold another contract. Why did that happen? Because when I told him to focus, it wasn't just focusing. I said, why don't you talk to the owner? Why don't you tell him what you did and then ask him what he thinks next? Why don't you talk to him and say, how can I add more value? How can I be the best salesperson in your organization? I bet you if you go to the owner and you say that, he will tell you that nobody ever does that. And he will take you under his wing because he started this whole thing in the first place. He'll take you under his wing and teach you personally and give you all of the different things that you desire. And he's like, oh, okay, I'll do it. He had one more little shiny object thing where he said, well, this other company told me that they'll fly me out to Colorado, pay for my room and board, but then everything is commission. And I said, you really want to take that risk, dude, when you are already making sales here? And he's like, oh yeah, you're right. Oh yeah. Well, when he went and told the owner or asked the owner, how can I bring more value? How can I scale this? I know I can turn this into something. How do I sell better? How do I become a better sales guy for you? What do you think the owner did? The owner literally said what I said. Nobody does that. Nobody in my business does that. He took him under his wing and he said, I'm going to train you because I need somebody that can fly to different states and sell contracts to bigger companies. So I'm going to personally train you to be that guy. And so he just sold another contract yesterday based off of this training that he's been going through with the owner. And he's set to make huge commissions going out, flying, traveling. And I think he's like 19 years old, 20 years old, maybe 21, flying out, traveling the world, making more money than most kids making their life in 5 years or making 5 years, 10 years, all based off of that one simple question of how can I add more value to your company and sticking with it. How amazing is that? So when you are on an endeavor, whether you are at a new job, whether you are starting a new business, whatever it might be, you have to stick with it until it sticks. If you're not happy with your job, you're not happy with the pay you're making, why jump ship and burn a bridge? I hate that. That's one of the things I absolutely hate. is this burning of bridges that so many people do. I have clients who do that. I have business partners who have done that in the past. And every time I've burned a bridge a couple of times when I first was starting a business, and it sucks. But the bridges that I kept open, like every single one, has made me thousands, if not millions of dollars. Okay? So, if you're employed, have you gone to your manager or to your employer, especially if you know the owner, and said, hey, how can I deliver more value? How can I make more revenue for you? How can I grow this business and maybe find a win-win where I can make a commission or something like that? They never hear that. And if you are starting a project, stick with it until it sticks and find all of the resourceful ways to make that project a success, because as soon as you start, it's exciting, it's amazing, and then what happens? You realize the reality of what is actually happening, and that is that it's hard. Anytime you're going to be making money, I mean, this is a law of alchemy. This is a principle of alchemy. This is how the universe works. You will not have massive rewards without massive risk or massive time. It's the principle of compensation. You will only be compensated for what you put in. You're not going. Let's say you're a farmer. You're not going to be able to reap lettuce, like tons and tons of lettuce, unless you plant the seeds. Can you imagine if lettuce just popped out in nice little rows, and all you had to do was harvest it and then go sell it, and you did nothing prior to that? No, you have to till the soil, you have to make the rows, you have to plant the seeds, you have to weed, you have to water those things or create the water system to make that happen, and you have to go along with what is going on with the seasons, right? You can't have a huge harvest unless you had all the work prior to that. It's no different than being successful in whatever project you're starting. So you have to stick with it. You have to till the soil. You have to do the dirty work. You have to do the things that are not fun. It's not fun planting seeds. I farm. I have 20 acres. I farm peppers and cucumbers and kale and all these different things. It is not fun tilling the soil. It is not fun weeding tons of weeds and putting it into a compost bin. It is not fun having to set up an entire water system. It is not fun to replace the water system portions that broke or break in the process. But it is a hell of a lot of fun to have amazing food at the end of the season. To be able to harvest tons and tons and tons of food, give it to my neighbors and things like that. You are going to experience the same thing no matter what project you're in. Even if it's a relationship. It's so exciting in the beginning, but a month down the road, 3 months down the road, you start to see how the person really is. People can only hide themselves for 3 to 6 months. And then you start making the decision of, do I want to work on this relationship or not? Is it worth it? No matter what, you will not reap the rewards unless you put in the risk of time, money, effort. And you have to stick with it. You have to stick with it to see if it sticks. Stick with it to see if it sticks. So how many projects have you started and you've bounced around? Is there a project right now that you're started and you're potentially bouncing around to the next thing? Stick with it until you can truly say that this is not going to work. And if you see a little glimpse of success, a little bit, you made a sale. How much money did it take? How much time did it take? How much advertising did it take? Did you talk to 10 people to make that one sale? Did you talk to 100 people to make that one sale? There's a big difference. If you know 10 people makes one sale, now if I want to make 10 sales, I only have to talk to 100 people. Stick with it until it sticks. It is the key to being successful with anything in life.